Hey, it's me, the NPC. So, it's finally happening. The live-action Hollywood adaptation of Battle Angel Alita has been in the works for years and was thought to be stuck as vaporware along with the Akira movie. But here we are with a trailer, and it is officially a thing. What's interesting about this film in particular is that producer James Cameron is a big fan of the original manga, and this is a major passion project for him. You can tell that this is being made because the people behind it legitimately want to make it by how much of a legitimate risk it is. Battle Angel isn't a big international franchise like Dragon Ball, Speed Racer, or Ghost in the Shell. The fact that we're getting a Battle Angel movie before a Sailor Moon movie is honestly pretty surreal. So the odds of this being a train wreck are much lower than many of the previous Hollywood adaptations of anime. However, that doesn't mean we've got a guaranteed hit on our hands. My biggest concern with the film is how it's going to work the early chapters of the manga into a proper 3-act structure. The series started out as an assortment of short stories centered around the titular character living in this grungy cyberpunk world. That works fine for a manga or an OVA, but a film needs concise focus. If they jump from one storyline to the next with no connective tissue bringing everything together, then the narrative is just going to be a jumbled mess. Even having read the original manga myself, I'm struggling to think of what they're going to have as the climax for this film. The climax is the moment that an entire film is built around, and it can make or break the whole thing. It looks like the fight with Makaku is going to do the job, but how are they going to tie that into the story with Hugo? Zapan is also in there, so is he going to be the final fight, and Makaku is just going to be in the middle? I'm also wondering about their target audience with this. The original manga doesn't treat cybernetics as just being cool superpowers. It's full-on Cronenberg levels of body horror in a mechanical hell. You just feel unclean seeing the dehumanizing effects of augmentation in this series. It's also all kinds of violent. Minor spoilers from the manga here, skip to here if you don't want to hear it, but for just one example of how gory it gets, Makaku, the big ogre guy, he is an addict, and his addiction is endorphins, and he gets his fix by eating brains. Such as when he popped a man's scalp off and drank him like a soda. And that's just one of the many awful things that happens to people's brains in this series. We do have Robert Rodriguez directing, so an equally violent adaptation isn't impossible. However, it seems like they're going for more of a young adult audience rather than a hard R horror show. That does make sense, as it's a safer bet for making a profit, and this is definitely not a cheap-looking film. Finally, let's talk about the eyes. Alita's eyes are easily the most standout feature of the trailer. It's certainly a weird choice, as this isn't something from the source material. Ironically, the facial feature that characters regularly bring up in the manga is actually her lips. I get what they're going for. Alita is mostly mechanical, and they want to give her an uncanny valley element to make her stand out from the other characters. It does capture this sense of otherness to her that can't be escaped, and it is a somewhat clever nod to its artistic roots. It's certainly gotten people's attention for the film, but I don't know if it will ultimately draw them in or push them away. I am hoping the film turns out well, partly because I want to see Destiny Nova in a possible sequel. That character in live action is bound to be a treat. What are your thoughts on Alita? Do you think it will knock it out of the park, or have you already given up on it? Let me know in the comments below.